Welcome to a new deep dive. Today, we're really digging into some source material around Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, especially the ideas in breaking the habit of being yourself.
Yeah, our mission today is to unpack the key stuff, the practical bits from these sources for you. We're looking at how maybe we're unconsciously just repeating the past.
Right. And maybe what the sources suggest we can actually do about it, how to, build a different future.
Exactly. It really gets to the core of things, doesn't it? How we live day to day.
Okay, let's jump right in then. So, the basic premise the sources lay out is this idea that, well, a lot of us are kind of stuck in a predictable loop.
Mm-hmm. Same thoughts, same feelings, same actions over and over. And that repetition, that is the habit of being yourself, according to these sources.
And they link this habit pretty directly to our connection with what they call the big three. What are those again?
The environment, our body, and time. Basically, we're constantly defining ourselves, limiting ourselves really by these three things.
Okay. And they draw this clear line between two ways of living, survival mode versus creation mode. Can you break that down based on the sources?
Sure. So survival mode, think stress. It's that constant low grade, high grade fight or flight response driven by stress chemicals.
And your focus is all external, right? Like what's happening around you dictates how you feel.
Totally. In that mode, your system's programmed to really only care about your body's immediate survival needs, the stuff and people in your environment, and time. Always feeling the pressure of time, dwelling on the past, anxious about the future.
Which kind of keeps your brain and body off balance.
hmm
And that just feeds back into that predictable, stuck feeling.
It's a cycle, a closed loop. Now, creation mode, as they describe it, is about getting beyond that.
How so?
It's framed as becoming like nobody, no thing, no time, moving past the self that needs all that external validation or definition based on the big three.
So it's more like pure consciousness, selfless, not tied down.
That's the idea presented, transcending those physical and time-based limits.
Okay, but if creation mode sounds so much better, why do we tend to get tracked in survival? Seems counterintuitive.
Well, the sources really point to chronic stress and our intense focus on the material world. Our biology literally gets wired, programmed to obsess about the body, the environment, the clock.
So that inner imbalance just sort of locks us in place.
Pretty much, it reinforces that predictable pattern.
All right, this next part is where, for me, it gets really fascinating and maybe a bit mind-bending. The sources say the body is the unconscious mind.
Yeah, this is a really central idea. They explain it like this. Your body is like this objective servant, just taking orders from your consciousness.
And the orders come via chemicals.
Exactly. Every single thought you have triggers the brain to release specific chemicals. Neurotransmitters, neuropeptides, hormones, think adrenaline, cortisol.
Okay.
And these chemicals flood your body, and they create the actual physical feeling that corresponds to that thought.
Wow. So if I'm thinking about, say, that argument I had last week or something really sad that happened years ago.
Yeah. Like finding a pet that passed away, yeah.
My body is pumping out the same stress chemicals, the same grief chemicals, as if it's happening right now.
That's the crucial takeaway from the sources. Your body, chemically, physiologically, cannot tell the difference between the real-life event that caused the emotion and the thought or memory of the event. It just responds to the chemicals.
So over time, you're conditioning your body to live in the past, chemically speaking.
Precisely. It gets used to those states. And the sources actually put a number on it, saying that by the time we reach midlife, something like 95% of who we are is just a set of subconscious programs.
95%. That's huge.
It is. Automatic behaviors, driving, brushing your teeth, sure,
Yeah.
but also automatic emotional reactions, attitudes, beliefs, habits you don't even think about.
Like worrying or judging people
Okay.
or complaining. Those can be programs.
According to these sources, absolutely. They become automatic. And when the body has memorized these chemical emotional states so thoroughly, it essentially becomes the mind driving your actions. You're living by this memory of yourself.
So we think we're awake and making choices, but a huge chunk of the day is just autopilot, run by these unconscious patterns.
That's the picture they paint. You only appear to be awake and conscious for a lot of it.
And that leads to what the sources call the gap, doesn't it? That disconnect between the face we show the world and how we actually feel deep down when the distractions fade.
Exactly right. And that gap, it's often filled with those memorized, addictive emotional states we just talked about. Guilt, shame, anger, fear, anxiety, whatever your particular flavor is.
And we use the external world our job. Relationships, buying things, hobbies, partly to define ourselves, but also to distract ourselves from those feelings.
That's a key point they make. It's a coping mechanism. And like, it works. For a while, anyway.
But the sources suggest that eventually the past catches up, often around midlife, you mentioned.
Yeah, that seems to be a common point where the wheels can come off that strategy. The external stuff just stops working as a distraction. It doesn't fill the void anymore.
And people start asking bigger questions about purpose, happiness.
Right. Is this all there is? What truly matters? It's like the sources suggest the soul starts waking up, realizing that chasing happiness out there is kind of an illusion.
And if people keep trying to avoid those buried feelings, that's where addiction can come in.
The sources definitely frame it that way, whether it's obvious stuff like drugs or alcohol or behavioral things, shopping, gambling, eating, workaholism.
It's an attempt to chemically change how you feel inside.
That's the underlying driver they propose.
Yes.
Behind every addiction, there's a memorized emotion the person is desperately trying to escape or numb or change.
Okay, now this is where things take another interesting turn. The sources bring in quantum physics to explain how change is possible. How does that connect?
It's a big leap, but it's fundamental to their model. It shifts the whole view of reality. The old way, Newtonian physics, saw the universe as mostly solid stuff, like little billiard balls hitting each other. Matter was king.
But quantum physics changed that picture.
Dramatically. It revealed that atoms, the building blocks of everything, are actually almost entirely empty space, like 99.999999% empty space, which is really potential energy.
So everything physical is basically fields of energy, frequency patterns.
That's the quantum view presented. And Einstein's famous EMC psi, well, that already showed matter and energy were two sides of the same coin, interchangeable.
Okay, still with you.
But then quantum experiments showed something even weirder. The observer. The act of observing, of paying attention, actually affects how energy and matter behave.
The observer effect. I've heard of that. Like an electron is just a wave of possibilities until you look at it.
Exactly. It exists as pure potential in this infinite field, but it only collapses into a specific particle in a specific location when consciousness interacts with it when it's observed.
Whoa. So applying that to us, the sources are saying that this field of infinite possibilities, this quantum field, is shaped by our consciousness, our minds.
That's the core assertion. Mind and matter aren't separate things, they're entangled. Your consciousness, because it is fundamentally energy, can influence the energy of the quantum field. Your mindful matter, as they put it.
Meaning, all possible experiences, like different versions of my life, already exist as potentials in that field.
As waves of probability, yes. And the way you connect with one of those potentials, the way you make it your reality, is by changing your internal state, your electromagnetic signature.
My signature? What's that?
It's the combination of how you think and how you feel. Your thoughts send an electrical signal out, and your feelings generate a magnetic signal. Together, they create your state of being, your signature.
And if I change that signature?
You change the signal you're broadcasting into the field. If you can create and maintain the signature that matches a potential reality you desire, the sources say that reality has to find you or you'll be drawn into it. Mind literally influencing matter.
So the bottom line is, change your reality? You absolutely have to change your state of being, how you think, how you feel, how you act. You've got to become someone else, energetically speaking.
Yes. And crucially, you have to think and feel greater than those big three constraints, greater than your current environment, greater than the feelings your body is used to, and greater than the linear pull of time.
Because the sources say just thinking stressful thoughts can trigger that whole stress response, right? Those high beta brain waves keeping you wired, focused outside, feeling like a victim of circumstances.
Exactly. That fixation on the external self, defined by the big three, makes you feel powerless. But the power, according to this model, lies in shifting the internal state first.
This connects to epigenetics then.
Right.
Not changing your DNA sequence, but changing how your genes are expressed. Your new thoughts, feelings, and behaviors send new signals to your cells. These signals can tell genes to switch on or off, creating different proteins, ultimately changing your biology. Like that laughter study example they mentioned. Laughter literally changed gene expression related to diabetes.
It's a compelling illustration they use. An elevated emotional state having a measurable biological effect.
So living in creation mode, or living as a nobody, as they put it, that means letting go of that identity tied to your environment, body, and time.
Yeah, becoming selfless in that sense. And directing your attention, your energy, consciously. Not on the problems, but on the possibilities in the quantum field. Because where you place your attention is where you place your energy. That shapes your reality.
And part of this is knowing thyself, really digging into your beliefs, because those are just thoughts you've accepted as true, and they filter everything.
Absolutely. Beliefs become these unconscious assumptions that dictate so much. Changing them is key.
The sources really frame creating reality with your mind as a skill, something trainable.
Yes, not magic, but a practice. And a key technique they emphasize is mental rehearsal.
Just imagining the future you want, vividly.
Yes, but crucially, feeling the emotions of that future now. When you combine a clear intention, thought, with an elevated emotion, feeling, you're changing your brain and body biologically.
Like those piano players who just mentally practiced. Their brains changed almost as much as the ones who physically played.
That's the study they point to. Mental rehearsal literally installs the neurological hardware ahead of the actual experience. You're building the map to the future in your brain, rather than just navigating by the maps of the past.
So becoming a new personality, thinking new thoughts, feeling new feelings, taking new actions, isn't just a metaphor. It's a biological necessity for change.
Precisely. Your old personality, with its familiar thoughts and feelings, created your current personal reality. It can't create a new one. To experience change, you need to observe a new outcome with a new mind.
Which brings us to meditation. It seems like the primary tool the sources offer for doing this work.
It really is presented as the cornerstone practice. Meditation, they point out, comes from Sanskrit roots, meaning to cultivate self. It's the process of becoming familiar with your inner world.
Moving from being run by those subconscious programs to being in the driver's seat consciously.
Yeah. Reclaiming control over how you think and feel daily. The practical goal during meditation is often to slow down your brainwaves.
Getting out of that busy analytical beta state.
Right. Moving down into alpha, that relaxed, internally focused state. And then ideally into theta, a deeper, almost twilight state where the door to the subconscious mind is more open. Delta is very deep, more for advanced folks.
And why is coherence important? Coherent brainwaves.
Because a coherent signal is a powerful signal. When your brainwaves are synchronized and orderly, you send a clear, strong electromagnetic signature into the quantum field. Stress and high beta create incoherent, scattered signals like static.
Meditation helps train the brain for coherence.
That's the aim, a more orderly, synchronized internal state.
And the sources recommend specific times, morning and evening.
They do, suggesting that naturally your brain chemistry during those times makes it a bit easier to slip into alpha and theta to access that subconscious operating system.
Okay, and what about preparing for meditation? They mention getting the body ready.
Yeah, finding a quiet space, sitting comfortably, minimizing physical distractions. But then a really key step they describe is not running away from the feelings that come up.
Like if you sit down and immediately feel anxious or impatient.
You don't try to push it away, you become aware of it. You observe that familiar feeling because that feeling, that chemical state, is the old self, the memorized identity you're trying to change. You have to acknowledge it to change it.
Witnessing it without reacting.
Exactly. Then the process involves consciously identifying that old self, its limitations, maybe even mentally reviewing the thoughts and behaviors associated with it.
And then letting it go. Surrendering it.
Yes, surrendering it to something greater, call it a greater consciousness, universal intelligence, the quantum field, asking for help to dismantle those old patterns.
And then there's the gratitude part. Giving thanks before the new reality shows up.
This is highlighted as incredibly important. Feeling gratitude as if your prayer is already answered, as if the future you want is already real. That elevated feeling of gratitude tells your body emotionally that the event has happened. It generates the magnetic signature of receiving.
So it's not just inner work. The sources are clear that you need to take action too.
Oh, absolutely. Creation isn't passive. You have to demonstrate your change. Your behavior in your waking life needs to align with the future you mentally rehearsed and felt in meditation.
Thoughts and deeds matching up.
Yeah.
Physically doing things consistent with that new self.
Right. That aligned action connects the energy you created internally with the quantum field in a tangible way. It bridges the gap between the inner and outer worlds, attracting that new experience or prompting you to step into it.
And they share stories of this working.
Yeah, examples like the daughter visualizing her trip to Italy and then opportunities lining up, or Bill's story of remission, or Monique winning the lottery.
And with Monique, the point wasn't just the win, but that her new, abundant feeling personality was the one who actually took the inspired action to buy the ticket, right?
Mhm.
The old personality wouldn't have.
Exactly. It highlights the link between the inner state change and the outer action and result. Knowing the information prepares you, but applying it through meditation and congruent action is what creates the feedback, the real world changes.
So this whole journey, it's really about consciously dismantling the old self
Identifying its programs, understanding how they run unconsciously.
and then deliberately building the new self
Yeah.
through focus, repetition, feeling those new emotions.
Yeah, it's like shedding layers, layers of memorized emotions, limiting beliefs, old habits that don't serve you anymore.
The sources also talk about the void, that uncomfortable place in between the old and the new.
Mm-hmm. That moment of uncertainty when you've let go of the familiar identity but haven't fully embodied the new one yet. It feels unknown, maybe even scary.
And most people rush back to what they know.
Often, yes. Because the familiar, even if it's painful, feels safer than the unknown. But the sources suggest that void, that place of pure potential, is where real transformation happens. It's fertile ground.
Ultimately, then, the sources point towards our true nature being something bigger, like an inherent intelligence.
Yeah, they describe the true self as this intrinsic, infinite resource, an energetic consciousness that's naturally coherent, whole, and fundamentally loving.
And by doing this work, by removing those layers of conditioned emotions.
You become more aligned with that inherent intelligence. You become more loving, more giving, more conscious yourself. That gap we talked about starts to close. You become more whole.
And when you get to a place where you feel good, feel whole, from the inside, not needing something outside to make you happy, that's the sweet spot.
That's presented as the ideal state for creation, living in gratitude and wholeness. The quantum field, they suggest, responds most powerfully to that state, allowing things to manifest more effortlessly, not from a place of lack or trying too hard.
Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. That becomes your reality.
That's the recurring theme. Focus on lack, you get more lack.
Yeah.
Focus on wholeness, possibility, gratitude.
So the call to action is pretty profound. Lose your mind and create a new one. Become the living proof of these ideas.
Make things like greatness, love, compassion, healing. Make those your new automatic habits. Embody the future you.
Wow. Okay, so we've really covered a lot of ground here, diving deep into this idea that changing your inner world thoughts, feelings, energy can genuinely change your outer reality.
We looked at how the sources connect our internal state to the quantum field, the whole process of overcoming the conditioned past, and using tools like meditation to tap into something bigger.
It really does offer a framework for intentional change, doesn't it?
A pathway for conscious creation, yeah.
So, thinking about all this, what really stands out to you listening? How might this perspective to the body as the unconscious mind, the observer effect, changing your energy shift how you think about changing a habit or creating something new in your own life?
And maybe consider this final thought. If your emotions truly are, as these sources propose, a chemical record of past experiences, what specific emotions are you living by today, maybe unconsciously, that are keeping your body and perhaps your life anchored firmly in yesterday?